You see what I'm talking about now, don't you, Adam?
I never thought I was going to be on a show where we had to explain to people the dinosaurs are a thing.
To a future,
to have to explain to people that the Earth is older now than it used to be.
Yeah, I know. Like as of yesterday, all of a sudden it's 4.5 billion years, but yesterday there was only 4.5 billion and less than 1 day older. So yeah,
the Earth is getting younger, guys. It's getting younger every day. I mean, have you seen? It's not just moisturizing; it looks really good. The Earth must
great for its age. It's
you joke, but I guarantee you there are people. Steve and I know this guy on Twitter named Maddie's Paradigm, and he believes that hell is actually in the center of the Earth, and that because it's expanding at a quick rate, that's what's causing climate change. That it's breaking through and causing our planet to warm up at an alarming rate. So
right,
wrap your head around that.
I have a very important theory about flat earthers because I've studied this a lot, and I've because it's a very important subject. You know, are these people insane? Are they a threat to society? No, and I think from the clear conclusion from my research, anyways, they're all trolls. That's it. There's trolls. None of them actually believe that the Earth is flat.
You're so cute and naive.
They're just messing with you. They're messing with you. You fell for it.
I used to believe that, brother. I used to believe that. I've been doing this a long time. There are a few that really are that stupid.
Those are just the really good ones. They're just really good at fooling you. And the more you talk about them, the more they win.
I agree with you, Adam. And Steve and I have this conversation quite often, but Actually, and I just said it before you actually came in. We were talking about when we've got coming up down the road, but I said the same thing, that at their core, I don't think that anybody can possibly believe that the Earth is truly flat.
I'm telling you, there are ones that are out there. I could go into some detail on who they are, but I'm convinced that they are.
Well, the thing that pisses me off most about flat earthers is that in speeches, I used to have this great analogy that I would make. You know, people, like comparing freedom to government, right? You know, people think that like today government is good and righteous and necessary, and soon we're going to realize, oh no, it's not. You know, freedom is a better way for humanity to get along. And it's sort of like, well, people used to think the Earth was flat in the center of the universe, and then someone came along and said maybe it's round and it's not the center of the universe. And you had all these people who had done all this math, explaining the orbits of the stars and the planets based on a flat Earth being the center of the universe. And they go, hey, Earth is round and it's not the center of the universe. And all the math, gets really simple and it makes sense. And if you had done all the math, a lot of those people have to go in and like redo the math over and over. Like if you did 1,000 equations to do this funky math, and then you go to the new model, there's only 10 equations, and you go, that can't be right. It was so hard for me to figure it out before. It was so hard for me to justify government. It was so like I had to really embarrass myself at parties trying to defend this idea that government is necessary and that politicians love you and that police are looking out for your safety and that taxes aren't theft. They're the price we pay for a civilized society. I mean, just silly, absurd crap like that. And then you go, no, freedom. And it's like, you have to, really go through and do the math 100 times until it's the same amount of math and it displaces the old model. So now when I give speeches and I say, like, to introduce that whole bit, I go, well, people used to think the Earth was flat and the center of the universe. And then people have to, like, every single time I've said that in a speech, someone goes, some of them still do.
Yeah, it's scary. It's growing. There was a report that came out like a month and a half ago that said that a third of millennials question the actual shape of the Earth and its position in the universe. A third of millennials.
Well, hold on. Now, if you just say question the shape and the position in the universe, you put it in those terms, that's reasonable, because a lot of people think the Earth is round and we say that it's round and technically it's not.
Well, it's called a regular Blake spheroid, but
right.
They don't. But when we say that they question it, they have no idea whether it's flat or round. They're looking at it as, could be either.
Could be either. Okay.
So when you mention flat Earth to people in your seminars, is it so like everything else that follows kind of is less crazy? And I'm not saying your position is crazy, but I mean,
no. I'm making the point No, I'm only using this as an analogy to show a comparison of historic development of human thought and understanding of the world around us, where it just, oh yeah, we proved that, and it became obvious and accepted, and everybody understood that the world was flat. And these freaking morons had to just ruin it for me. I can't use it as an example anymore.
They ruin everything. They ruin everything.
Flat earthers ruin everything.
But let me even this interview. They have already ruined this interview.
It's why we can't have nice things.
God,
fuck you, flat earthers.
Let me attempt to actually introduce somewhat properly our guest for those. I don't know how you cannot know, but if you don't know who Mr. Kokesh is, he's an American activist and talk radio host of Adam versus the Man and author of the book Freedom. He is also now I had to scratch out president. He is the Libertarian candidate for Senate, the U.S. Senate in Arizona for 2018. Welcome, Mr. Kokesh.
Thank you very much.
So, I don't know where after that. I don't know how we can top that beginning. That was literally the greatest, most high energy opening to a show that we've done. I think we can just close it off right here. Thanks you, Adam Kokesh, for this was.
He said he's not going to do it for 20 minutes. It couldn't be entertaining, but the first 20, bravo.
Read my book, and it's done. This is done. Oh, lovely. Well, let me. If you're like, hey, what's the next most important thing we can talk about? It's this book that shows how to create a better world by dissolving government entirely. This was what I did when I was in jail, or at least I started writing this when I was in jail for civil disobedience in 2013. And people sent me all these great books about freedom, and I decided that I would be the very best rip-off artist the freedom movement has ever known. And I took all the best ideas and none of the bad ones and condensed it into one easy-to-read, 100-page, the ultimate red pill right here, the quickest way to go from zero to I get it. We've got, we're about to deliver 205,000 copies to New Orleans in a couple of months. We've got over 50,000 copies in print, 3 million downloads. It's been a great success. The best criticism I've ever heard of this book is, well, it was kind of boring, but I'd give it to someone who's never heard of those ideas. Yeah, that's the point. It's easy to understand. It's an 8th grade reading level, common language, short sections. They're no more than a couple pages each, which means you could read this very easily on the toilet in just like a couple months without even thinking about it. And when you come out of it, your statism will be cured. You will no longer feel the need to turn to this authority called government. You will, and what you get out of this is not just, and this is not just me and my book. This is the message of freedom, the understanding of freedom inherently is that it gives you a true sense of personal freedom that changes how you relate to other people and changes the way you walk through the world and changes the way that you relate to authority. But I think most importantly, changes the way you relate to yourself when you realize that emotional freedom is part of freedom too. Having the freedom of true self-ownership means claiming that dominion over your mind. And all too often we let other people, politicians, propagandists, mainstream media, flat earthers inject their bullshit and take over the conversation and being free. So that's it. That's why we have to kill all the flat earthers. I say, we'll dig a big hole, we'll throw them in.
We'll pose. How do you can't kill them if they're posed?
We'll get them. We'll do it voluntarily. We'll get them to bet on whether the Earth is flat or round, and if they lose, they go in a hole and they end up in the center of the Earth. So, like, if they tell us
a round hole,
that you're right, exactly. They tell us that the Earth. And by the way, the Flat Earth Society has members all around the globe, so don't forget it. There's a lot of them. But if they say that the Earth is only like a mile deep, we drill a hole and we say, look, if we go a mile and a half. And we haven't gone through the Earth yet. Will you jump down there and tell us what's at the bottom? And then when they'll go like, oh my gosh, we can prove this theory now. We just need to dig a few more feet and we'll come out the other side. And when they're all down there, we're just
we've actually gone about 7.5 miles deep in a borehole.
I'm pretty sure. Adam, you're
like that big, but
whoever your opponents are going to use that clip right there against you. That you want to
flat earthers. But he doesn't. He doesn't believe flat earthers exist, so he's not really advocating for the death.
Exactly. So ding.
I can hear it now. I'm
brother.
I'm
I
Joseph,
understand.
and I approve this
Okay.
message. So
I also want free. I'm like, I'm a big fan of Vermin Supreme. And he was a parody presidential candidate, but he made some really good points. And one of his ideas that he came up with was free ponies for everybody. And so I will say there is, I really like the idea, but I don't think it goes far enough. So there is one big government program I'll support, and this is what they're really going to use against me, because if you hear Adam Kokesh say I support a big government program, it's going to be like destroying my credibility. But free unicorns.
Everybody sign me up.
How about coupons for hookers? I think that's a good platform.
No, unicorns win hands down on that.
Why would you rather have a unicorn rather than a discount for a hooker?
I don't need a discount for a hooker.
I do. I mean,
so by the way, Adam, that was the greatest sales pitch for a book I've ever heard in my life. Anybody that can come on here and say this is one you can read while you take a shit and you'll come out smarter about politics, that's a winner right there.
Read it on the John.
Let's start at the beginning of how you kind of came to the forefront here when you were arrested and that whole thing kind of happened. Can you walk us through what happened for people who may not know and how that kind of put you on the forefront of where you are now?
Well, when you say when you got arrested,
which time?
Yeah, you're gonna have to be a lot more specific than that.
The first one, I remember watching you several years ago where you did a Fox News interview from your jail cell. You remember that?
Yeah, that was for the shotgun, for loading a shotgun in Freedom, the ironically named Freedom Plaza, 2 blocks away from the White House in Washington, D.C. And that was actually not, well, no, it's probably my most, no, it's hard to say. I mean, I have a few high profile arrests that are sort of.
Pick your favorite.
I mean, my favorite is still dancing at the Jefferson Monument, Jefferson Memorial. There's,
quite a few people got arrested for that, didn't they?
Well, there were 5 of us that day, and there's something just beautifully elegant about what we set out to do with that. And if I may give a little backstory for those who don't know,
sure.
At the Jefferson Monument in Washington, D.C., in about 2008. There was a group of libertarians who decided to do a flash mob to celebrate Thomas Jefferson's birthday, the great champion of freedom of speech, no less, by going to have a silent dance party that is headphones in. They show up at midnight, the start of Thomas Jefferson's birthday at the Jefferson Monument, where it says, just carved in stone all over this just beautiful marble, testimony to freedom, right? Things about the First Amendment, and the Declaration, and like other great quotes from Thomas Jefferson about freedom of speech. And I only found this out after this happened, but Thomas Jefferson was actually known for a while as the dancing president. I mean, the layers of irony just keep building and building and building. You want to make jokes about rolling over and spinning in the grave. I mean, it just it doesn't even come close to just the absurdity of this. But so as these guys were they were dancing and they were asked to leave. They were asked to leave by United States Park Police. And by the way, of most of my high-profile arrests, the raid on my home with the SWAT team when they broke down my door, threw a flashbang grenade at my dog, roughed me up, ransacked my home, that was United States Park Police. These are the dregs of the federal law enforcement barrel, FBI Academy rejects. These are and of all the federal agencies for me, former Marine to have a vendetta with, I get the United States Park Police. It's embarrassing, but I had enough.
But they took you down pretty hard, dude.